Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and so looking forward to having this discussion today and learning so much more as a sexual trauma survivor myself. So today is Dr. Lisha Antiqua, and she is trauma transformer, best-selling author, creator of the unique trauma recovery method, Amazing You, and CEO of Your Own University. So welcome, Dr. Lisha.
Thank you so much, Teri, for having me. Hello, everybody. It's beautiful to be here. And I hope that you're inspired by our conversation and whatever comes up in this flow.
Yes, well, again, I love having folks on one because so much of it resonates with me. I swear, in my almost 8 years of doing this, I've done so much healing work because I talk to beautiful healers and teachers and researchers and authors, and gosh, you're all of the above. So, talk to us. Gosh, I don't even know which one to talk about first. So, trauma transformer. What does that entitle in your world? Or I don't want to say entitle. That's not the
Yeah.
right word. You know what I mean?
Encompass might be a good word.
Encompass. That's the word. Yes, thank you.
Well, originally in 2012, as I really stepped into doing this work online and I became a coach officially, and I became an author officially, I was deemed the trauma transformer because I was really focusing on transforming trauma and help people doing that in their own lives. But over time, I realized that people even come into my energy field. And it's more of an ownership and an identity for me that when people come into my field, no matter what, and it's always been this way, it just took me a long time to open up to it, they're either shown their shadows or they're shown their light. And not by me, but like literally by the world. And they just start healing. They just start opening up to the possibility of them being a divine creation. And in 2012, I was in a deep meditation and I was just, what am I supposed to do? And Source God came to me and said, dissolve, resolve, transform, transmute, and transcend. And for those that are having a conversation about galactics and all of that stuff, or um, light workers, star seeds, all of those things, there's a group of the 12 that is called transmuters. And that's really what I see myself as. And when those words were given to me, I started speaking those words: dissolve, resolve, transform, transmute, and transcend over my community, my groups, and things in their life just started falling into place and coming together. And I got known for it in my little tiny group of people at the time. And they started calling me the trauma transformer. So all of those kind of pieces come together to say, what is trauma transformation? But honestly, it's about no longer identifying with the trauma or the symptoms of the trauma and giving that your power and learning how to choose for yourself what you want to do, how you want to do it, and who you want to be in this world beyond that. And traditional therapy doesn't focus on that.
Yeah, wow, beautiful. And it so spoke to me. In the past few years, I had someone say to me, this was when early on in my stepping onto the healing path, Teri, you're a light worker, right? And then a few years later, someone said, you're a Pleiadian starseed, right? And so all of this was so new to me. And I was like, what the heck is that? So, Google, and I was like, 20 signs that you're a Pleiadian starseed. And I was like, all 20 completely 100% accurate. Oh my gosh. Like it's so awesome. So when I hear you say dissolve, is that surrender? Is that surrender part?
No, dissolve is on the physical plane, right? So, like sand, you know, dissolves into little crystals, or a rock dissolves into sand, right? So dissolve is matter. So it is saying, when you say dissolve, the power behind that is I choose to own the matter in which I am. And in that matter, I'm going to trust that. So what I do is I really help people come home. Let me tell you a story. So when I was 13, it was my time to stop being abused and start speaking the truth and coming out of the that lesson in my life. Now, did I know that specifically? No, but I was being abused by another 30-year-old, and somehow I got out of the horse stables. I ran into this field we call Dry Lake, is in North Glen, Colorado, and it's now houses, but I was sitting there and I was just bawling my eyes out. I was always very close to the angels and angelics and stuff. I lived very much outside of my body, very much disassociated most of my life due to the trauma. But also just due to I like hanging out with God. So most of my memories are looking down and at myself. So at this time, like I'm in this field, I'm crying, and this big light that I saw at the time as Jesus appeared and said, "Go home and tell." And I did. And my primary abuser went and took care of that abuser. I don't know what happened to him to this day. My mom and me talk about it. But within a week, like both sides of my family were talking about sexual abuse. Both sides of my family were talking about everything. Uh, Everything was coming out, how they were abused, and you're right, like everything started unraveling in that world. And I was 13. And so, anyway, it seems like ever since then, something activated within me because I've been helping people come home and tell since then, whether I was selling real estate or I'm doing this work, right? So, dissolve means your higher self, your big purpose can come home and own this home, right? You were given a home. It's a physical body. So, dissolve means coming home and just claiming space to all 1 billion trillion cells in your body and saying this is my home, right? And it might have this disease or that disease happening. It might have this pain over here. It might be holding this, it might be holding that. But no matter what, like this is mine and my responsibility from that place of source within you. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. Yes. So much sense. Yes. And I just have to say again, it's such soul sister moments here because I I lived dissociated for because of my trauma for
Mhm.
into my gosh, when did I step onto the healing path? 2013. So into my 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And it wasn't until I was in EMDR therapy
Mhm.
and my therapist said something about, well, you dissociate. And again, I was like, what the heck is dissociate? What? Like, what are you talking about? I thought it was normal to not be in my body and see things like I was watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, very
So
powerful.
I like EMDR, but for CPTSD, it can be really tricky. And you probably were in therapy for a long time and knew who you were. So if somebody doesn't know who they are, EMDR can be it can be the breaking point. What I do is we dissolve anything holding you back from your body being safe and learning how to trust yourself in your body. So this is kind of amazing you. And then we resolve, okay, anything mentally that's blocking you from your mind being safe. Because even if your soul comes back into your body, if it's in a toxic environment, your body is so loving to its energy source and your psyche that it's going to kick itself out. It doesn't want to be there. It's not safe for your soul to be in a toxic environment that hates it, right? So you'll disassociate, disassociate, disassociate. Same with your mind. If you're not nice to you yet, right? If you haven't gone through that therapy or just really you don't even need therapy, but you're like need to like be like, okay, I'm gonna like myself and not be my worst enemy, which a lot of survivors of abuse are because they're still fighting with the abuse. Um, like that needs to be retrained. And then emotionally, we have a separate emotional body that's not your actions and not your thoughts, right? It's actual energy, emotional regulation. So people with BPD and bipolar and mood disorders, like this is what actually has the power in their life. They're no longer thinking or acting. The emotional body has power. And a lot of people think that that's disassociation, but it's not. You're still associated with one of the three primary parts of your being. And so we dissolve, resolve, and then we transform that. So you transform your emotions. You learn how to work with your emotions, how to work that body. And then we dissolve, resolve, transform, and transmute. So the transmute is your etheric field, that third layer, right? That's where we're at when we're disassociated and we're still alive. When we're disassociated and we're dead, we go higher. But disassociated and alive, we're in that outer field around us. And unless you're studying quantum physics and spirituality, there's not too much talked about that field. But we all have it. It's basic science now. I mean, basic quantum physics, but basic quantum physics. It's very proven, very real. And it's really about authority, right? So in that, you learn how to take authority, which a lot of survivors have trouble with that. Once those things are in alignment, though, and you have pretty good, then programs like EMDR, DBT, or even some trauma therapies, then they can actually work. And you're not circling that same damn drain, doing the same thing over and over again, or opening up an old wound that you don't have salve to put in. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
that's how we lay claim. I don't like to say putting the pieces of yourself back together again. I used to say that a lot, but it's really like you lay claim to your own plot of land, and the plot of land moves with you wherever you go. You shower with it every day. It takes the shit with you. It vomits with you, right? It laughs with you. It orgasms with you. Like you are you. And when we get to reclaim that, which was taken away from us from trauma, because trauma is the blowout of that system. The trauma is like the system going, oh, physically, I can't handle this. Mentally, I can't handle this. Emotionally, I can't handle this. Everybody else has authority. I have no authority over my life. That's trauma. And sexual trauma blows out all those. Different traumas blow out different segments of that. But when you blow that out, then you get to go, well, when is it safe to come home? When is it safe to come home? And once you come home, then it's safe to go out and do your bidding. And telling your story isn't necessarily like, oh, this is what happened to me and I was abused when I was a kid. Like, that's part of it. But it's more like, what are you here to do? Right? Like, you're here to do this show, Teri, right? You're here to like shine these lights for us. You're here to like give us a stage to share on, right? Everybody has a mission. All of us have our part to play. And I think that when we get this embodiment and we no longer live from trauma, we're no longer looking at the symptoms that are in our body going, I need to heal, I'm so broken, right? But we know how to wield that. And we're looking at the story and going, well, this happened to me when I was 12, right? And so I can never live again, or broke my heart 10 years ago, right? And and instead we learn how to work with those things when they come up and not believe them, how to feel better, lean into our joys, and how to take authority in our life. That's when life gets really fun. And that's my mission, for them to feel amazing being themselves.
Gosh, so brilliant. I mean, so much of it, you just saw me sitting here. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, and what, to bring it back to me again,
No, perfect.
which
Yeah,
is
let's
lovely.
do.
Um,
You
so
as everybody,
yeah, and so I've done an incredible amount of healing work, right? Like no longer have panic attacks and can get my anxiety reined in through various methods very quickly. And yes, EMDR was 4 years, 98 sessions, very hard. It was incredibly difficult. I have CPTSD. But my
Yeah.
point being is
And
that,
that's the whole thing. Like, what if you could have done that in 6 months without the EMDR and had
yeah,
it be more effective? And my clients, they don't have like they heal from cancers, they heal from PTSD, CPTSD, DBD, BBD. Um, I haven't really worked with a narc that
yeah,
stayed through with it because they're like tapped in ego. But
yeah,
I mean, what if? Right? EMDR can be intense. I mean, I loved it. I'm certified in it, like totally believe in it. Um, but whew, it's deep
yeah.
dive. Anyway, I'll let
It
you finish.
is. It
Sorry.
is. No, no, no. And I thank you. Thank you. So my question is, so like my healing bubble is so big, but there's those little remaining, not so little really. Like I have incredible anxiety, no longer panic attacks, but it gets pretty heightened and I have to really work to rein it in open spaces. And so I always correlated it to, oh, that second bank robbery where I was trapped in an open space with an armed assailant. Um, and so like out on a beach, which I live on beautiful Hilton Head Island. And I used to love the beach, but as we peeled the layers away, all of a
Mhm.
sudden I was like, oh, like I needed to be under a tent or an umbrella or like, protected, cocooned in my hermit crab shell. Is that something that, like as you spoke, all I kept thinking was, oh, maybe that's in one of these like layers that you're talking about. Am I hearing it right?
Yeah. So it might be in a number of the layers. So ask yourself just right now, just lean back, put your hand on your heart. Let's just see. Think about that open space and say physically, am I feeling this? And just answer yes or no.
Oh yeah, my knees started to sweat.
Perfect. So feel it. So it's being held in your knees and moving forward. Perfect. Mentally, are you feeling this? Are you still holding this mentally?
Not so much.
Perfect. Emotionally, are you feeling it?
A bit. Yeah, I feel it. I felt it more like in my soul heart area. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And then does it have authority over you? Do you feel it as an exterior thing or
For sure.
yeah. Okay, so feel that exterior thing and what happened to you. Did what happened to you happen to you?
Did it happen to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you survive that?
Yes.
Yeah. Own it. Own it. Hallelujah, I survived that, right? And anchor that. Okay, this is one of my memories. I survived it. Are you satisfied with how you survived it?
Yes.
Yeah, you're here, you're breathing, you're working, you're doing your thing, right? Yeah. Is there anything that it needs you to know that you don't know already?
It, uh, no, I'm hearing the word weak. I don't know why I'm hearing
Perfect.
the word
Okay, so you have a judgment of you weak or them weak.
me weak.
Okay, perfect. So is it okay for you to be weak in different situations?
Sure.
Yeah, in that situation, would it be normal to feel weak?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you forgive yourself for being quote unquote weak in that situation?
Oh, of course. Now I'm tearing up. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. And then what is this anxiety in your chest? Like, what is that telling you about open spaces? What does it need you
Oh,
to know?
gosh, I don't know. It's just a heaviness now. It's
Mm-hmm.
wanting to run and I can't.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. So when looking at open spaces, is it true that you can't run in open spaces?
No.
No, it's the opposite, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so open spaces would have been safer than actually that trapped small space that you were in, correct?
correct.
So can you let yourself out of that trapped space and trust yourself to go into that open space again?
Yes.
Yeah, now you can run.
I swear I just saw myself running on the beach.
Yeah, I want you to literally go and run on the beach as soon as you can,
Yeah.
and it'll be
Oh,
done. It'll be done. Okay. So that physical act of you running on the beach, literally, is going to help release that from your knees and go shake it out on the beach and stuff, right? And just like, huh, everything that you were feeling in that moment of the trauma was there. And that little piece where you're like, I wish I could run. I wish I wasn't here. I want to be in open space. I'm not in an open space. It got flipped upside down. And that's what happens in trauma, right? So you think the open space is the issue when really the closed space is the issue. But in that moment, you had to, for your own safety, make that closed place the safe space in order for you to survive. Does that make sense?
yes, so much
So
sense.
now you just flipped it back upside down. Hopefully you'll feel much better.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely
you're
beautiful.
welcome.
Yeah, interesting. And just to add a little caveat to all of this. So I was involved in two bank robberies. The first one, I was in a very tiny little space by an ATM machine where our little vault was, with a gun held to my head, and my coworker had been stabbed three times with a hunting knife. Well, those same bank robbers came back 3 months later to our branch, our main office where I had just moved. And then the man who had held the gun to my head pulled the trigger and shot and murdered my coworker. And that's when I came face to face with his partner in crime when I ran from the bank. So there's that weird connection of at first I was trapped in a small space and then I was trapped in a wide open space. And so I think that's why I've always had this like, how do I let go of it? But thank you for that. And I'm going to go out and run on the beach because I did feel a release. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just like that practice, like this is no longer that situation. That situation, I survived. That situation, I'm okay. The brain needs to understand this, or CPTSD will keep recreating it in order for us to finally realize that we survived, right?
Yeah.
That's where EMDR and things like it, hypnosis even, can be really helpful because you can go, oh, I survived this. The issue I have with EMDR is that oftentimes you need a lot of sessions. It opens up that wound and the person isn't ready to put anything in it because traditional therapy doesn't create from a place of who do you want to be and how do you want to be in reality creation. They just haven't gotten that far yet. So unless you're working with a therapist that's actually really progressive and knows what they're doing, you're kind of like still going into the same void of the brokenness that you're in. So you're opening up to remember what broke you, right? But then you're just putting in the broken pieces. You're not putting in the wholeness. There's no good salve, if that makes sense.
Oh,
And
yes.
that can keep people stuck. And that actually can make, because the brain doesn't understand what it's remembering and what's happening in the moment. So it actually can reinforce DNA memories and re-traumatization, which can end in autoimmune diseases much more easily if
What?
you don't have.
Oh my gosh, we are so going to talk because crazy, again, bring it back to me. When we moved here to Hilton Head, I always had beautiful skin, never had an issue, never even had acne as a teenager, and moved into a house that unfortunately, unbeknownst to us, had been condemned for toxic mold. It was beautifully rehabbed, and we didn't know. And I was the canary in the coal mine, and it flipped on the autoimmune switch.
Mhm.
And so now I still am covered in this horrific rash of autoimmune rash from psoriasis. Um, so crazy that you just said that. Like, oh my gosh, how it's
And
all
we're creating our
intertwined.
own reality, right? To bring out this stuff, right? So you want to be covered, you want to be in a space, you want to do that. So now you're covered and you're in a space, your body's doing that for you, right? And you moved into the perfect environment to make that happen so you can have this autoimmune disease that's going to push people away and keep you covered and in a safe space called eczema, right?
Mm.
So it all makes sense. I do it with cancer. Right now I have a huge shingles outbreak on my hip. I watched the fucking Handmaid's Tale, which was the stupidest thing. I hope I can cuss on here. I
Yeah,
cuss you
it's fine. It's all good.
on and just stressed out about women's rights right now. Anyway, and I have shingles all the way down, and I had cancer on my nerve on my back 2 years ago. And I'm just like, ugh, things just get on my nerves and I'm not saying anything, right? Like I gotta really speak up when things get on my nerves. I can't hold my breath anymore. I can't do this. Like I really gotta do it or else I'm just gonna get sick, right? So we all create things, right? Because I had this high tolerance for bullshit. Okay. I understand where you're coming from. I have CPTSD too, right? Oh, I understand why you treat me like shit because I felt that way too, right? Like huge capacity, right? I think most healers do. And it's just toxic. It was absolutely toxic. And eventually me being so nice and understanding and compassionate um turned into me being sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Did
so
you
I've
see
had to
my
learn how
mental?
to literally have a backbone and be like, no, you can't treat me that way. And no, I'm not dating you. And no, right? Like, I just, no, I don't care. You can hate me. I can be the bad guy. I had to learn how to, I'm learning how to be the villain and be okay with it.
Yeah, I love it.
Knowing that
And
I'm coming
that's,
from the best intentions, right? The villain with intention, right?
yeah, yeah,
But if my goodness or my understanding makes you feel uncomfortable, well, then tough.
yeah. And I don't see that's not the villain to me because, I certainly have opposing views from some of the most beautiful people in the world that I consider healers and in certain arenas, right? And
Yeah.
so to me, it's not that they're a villain. It's that's their truth. That's their journey. That's their path. And so yeah, I applaud you for yeah, using that voice. I'm using my voice was huge on my
Yeah.
healing journey and being able to say, But yeah, wow, the uncover, like covering myself up thing. Wow, you've blown my
Yeah, it always
mind.
makes sense. The my mom has a YouTube channel. She does a program called NERI, neural emotional reflex integration. It resets the nervous system. It's a form of chiropractic. And anyway, Body Logic, Body Wisdom is her YouTube channel. And she's such a cutie, but she just talks about how all this stuff makes sense. And since I grew up having those conversations and hearing her talk to clients and different people about all their autoimmune diseases and everything that's happening with their system and their nervous system, I was like, it's just made me be able to see how all this is so logical. Your body's brilliant. It's telling you exactly what you asked for or what you need.
Yeah, I love it. Before we came on, my stomach was growling because I do intermittent fasting. And so I was like, oh, I should probably eat something so it's not like, oh. And so I walked into the kitchen and I said, well, I don't have a whole lot of time. I got about 18 minutes. And I said, so I saw some bananas on the counter. And so I picked up the bunch of bananas and just held it to me. And I said, all right, body, what do you think? Are bananas going to be like, how are you feeling the healthiness of this today? Is this going to be a good fix? And, I did the whole like the muscle, is
Uh-huh.
it muscle
Muscle
testing?
testing. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like somebody pushed me forward and I was like, all right, we're going with banana. So
I love that. I love intuitive eating. I love that. It's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Well, I could just sit and talk to you for, my gosh, days. I want to give you the opportunity to maybe touch upon anything that we didn't have a chance to, or leave folks with any final words of wisdom.
Well, this conversation was so flowy and so fun. So thank you. If you are suffering with um, CPTSD or PTSD, I want to just invite you to definitely check out my page. We have a working community there. It's called Unstoppable Confidence. It's a mini course that you can go through, learn about your power zones, how to reintegrate, how to heal actually the trauma and reintegrate yourself. That's my mission. I have a group, and then I work with some people privately. My schedule is really small for that, but it's lishaantiqua.com, and you can get all my free stuff there and be a part of that community. The other thing, though, that I really want to reach out because I know a lot of healers are on here, right? And if you are a therapist or you want to be a coach or you want to go into this healing methodology and what I've said aligns with you, my call now is really to help survivors turn all their wisdom, all their knowledge, all their passion into a really working platform to help people heal. And when I say heal, I mean like not have to do healing work anymore, like actually be done healing. Um, and it's a proven methodology. It's been around since 2010. Um, and we're training coaches in the Amazing You method and therapists and light workers and healers and all that stuff to help people look at trauma and reclaim their power and reclaim their homes and come home and tell their story or come home and tell their truth or come home and love themselves, right? Love their families and cycles of abuse. And so if you'd like to know more about that, please reach out to me as well. And you can always reach me at info@lishaantiqua.com.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that was my next question. How do people connect with you? So, yay,
Yeah.
thanks. I have to show you real quick. So, I have these little positive affirmations cards that I made. And so I was shuffling them today and I said, all right, I shuffle until one like flies out or, one kind of just, I feel it energetically. And so
Yeah.
today it was, I am beautiful. So I made these like with my own photography. They have all different kinds of,
I
things.
love it.
So today's was I am beautiful. And I paused, and this was right before again coming on with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am beautiful. Like even with my crazy rash all over my whole body and as crazy as I look, but like, and so this just resonated again so beautifully with our conversation today. And so everyone, you are beautiful. And
Beautiful.
um, yeah, so thank you so very much for the work you do for yeah, just being here and shining your beautiful light and for gosh, for gifting me today. I mean, it really, again, my heart is so grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't wait to hear about your run on the beach.
I know. I'll have to do it like Facebook Live and be like out there.
Do tag me in it.
All
You're
right,
like, I
I
did my
will.
homework.
I will. I love it. All right.
Thank
Well,
you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And everybody, I hope that I hear from you and happy healing.
all right. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Just wanted to thank you again for being a part of this healing space and my hashtag Hope for Healing journey. Thank you for sharing, liking, inviting others to join, listening in. You've really helped this show blossom. It has now been downloaded in 136 countries and is in the top 2% globally out of 3.2 million shows, which is just amazing. And it's all because of you and your tuning in and inviting others and sharing and liking and loving. And your reviews on Apple really help too. My goal is to hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I am closing in on that. So if you are listening in on Apple or Apple Podcasts, please go and rate the show and leave a review if you absolutely love it. And I would be most appreciative. Also, if you would like to receive my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, please be sure to go to teriwellbrock.com. It's Teri, just one R, WELLBROCK.com. And I have a gift to send you for signing up for that monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Plus, there are many other resources listed on that page, including a resource library. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.